Hari Om friends, welcome once again to my Sanatan Dunya channel, your spiritual home. In this video, I shall be giving my commentary upon verses 62 to 68 of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. For those of you who have not yet watched the commentaries on the previous verses of the Gita, I suggest you go ahead and watch these videos before proceeding further with this video. These videos are available in the playlist titled Bhagavad Gita Commentary, all 18 chapters. Before I go ahead and give the commentary upon these verses of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, I have a small request to make. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, then I suggest you do so that you may be updated about forthcoming videos uploaded to this channel. So let's move on. The 62nd to 65th slokas of the second chapter of the Gita are as follows. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. From anger delusion arises, and from delusion bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. One who can control his senses by practicing the regulated principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord and thus become free from all attachment and aversion. For one who is so situated in the divine consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such a happy state, one's intelligence soon becomes steady. The commentary of the mentioned four slokas is as follows. In verses 62 and 63, Bhagavan is giving Arjuna a clear picture of what happens when a spiritual seeker, or anyone else for that matter, contemplates the objects of the senses. For a spiritual seeker, purity of mind is of utmost importance. In fact, the Shastras like Yoga Vasishtha say that when the mind is completely purified, that itself is liberation. We are eternally the all-blissful and all-knowing self. However, we are conditioned by our limited and polluted minds. Hence, for a person with an impure mind, self-realization is indeed a hard task. But how exactly does the mind become impure and thereby cover the infinite nature of the self that we are? The answer is as follows. When a person contemplates objects of the senses, one develops a liking for those objects. Repeated contact or consumption of those objects causes more and more of craving for those very same objects. Once craving is developed, one's mind becomes lusty for enjoying those objects of the senses. Now what happens further is very interesting. When a person lusts after a sense object and the craving is not fulfilled, then one develops anger. As remember, by repeated contact with those objects, one has developed a lust for them. Now what's more is that even if the desire is satisfied, the actual happiness or satisfaction gained is invariably much lesser than what one had expected when one had desired the same object. Besides, whenever we desire any object in this world, behind that desire is the desire to find the supreme happiness of limitless bliss experienced during samadhi or God contact. Behind every desire is the unconscious, subconscious or conscious desire for the Supreme Self alone. But it is a clear point that none of the objects of the world can provide even an iota of that supreme satisfaction, and hence all desires invariably lead to disappointment and despair. Now when this anger comes up, one completely forgets that one is the self or pure consciousness and one is not the material body and mind. When this truth is forgotten in those moments of anger, one cannot apply the knowledge that one is none other than the Supreme Self alone and hence can easily do without the particular object which is being desired. And when one cannot apply this discriminatory knowledge, then one keeps brooding over the lack of satisfaction and gradually becomes a lost soul. On the other hand, Bhagavan is saying in the next two verses that if one can develop control over the senses, then this fall of the seeker or person under consideration can be avoided, and hence one can get lasting happiness, which means that one gets the complete mercy of the Lord. When one's mind is purified through sense control, and when one can avoid falling from one's spiritual stature as mentioned in the previous verses, then one can overcome the threefold miseries, which are miseries caused by oneself, miseries caused by others, and miseries caused by higher powers. So, lasting happiness is achieved through sense control and discipline. Now I shall move on to verses 66 to 68. The 66th to 68th verses of the second chapter of the Gita are as follows. One who is not in transcendental consciousness can have neither a controlled mind nor steady intelligence, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? As a boat on the water is swept away by a strong wind, even one of the senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Therefore, O mighty arm, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. The commentary of the mentioned three slokas is as follows. The senses of we conditioned souls is indeed very turbulent. And if senses continue to remain turbulent in the absence of self-control and discipline, then one cannot have a steady mind. When one's mind is unsteady, then one cannot be peaceful, and here we find Lord Krishna aptly equating happiness with peace of mind. Most of us tend to think that happiness implies a condition of being excited and jumping for joy and smiling and laughing all the time. But these are just grosser variations of the true happiness found in Samadhi. A yogi whose mind is established in Samadhi can alone experience true happiness. Irrespective of what the circumstances might be, the yogi's mind is peaceful as a result of God contact in Samadhi. Even if he is engaged in very serious work which requires concentration, he would still be peaceful in his mind as he is experiencing a no mind state. A seeker's sense of discrimination is a very delicate and precious quality. Bhagavan is saying here that it only requires a moment of contemplation of sense objects for the seeker's discrimination to be carried away like leaves in a storm. Bhagavan is here giving the example of a boat being swept away by a strong wind. Hence, one needs to be vigilant and carefully control one's mind. The senses are like fire and the sense objects are like fuel. Hence, Bhagavan is saying that one who has achieved control over his senses is certainly a person of steady intelligence. What one needs to keep in mind is that the more one gives into the senses, the more one shall be drawn away from the right path leading to permanent happiness, knowledge and freedom. So friends, here ends the commentary on the 62nd to 68th verses of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Stay tuned for more commentaries on the following verses of the Gita, and keep checking this channel for updates to this playlist titled Bhagavad Gita Commentary, all 18 chapters, and also do watch the other videos available in this channel so that you can enhance your knowledge of the eternal religion or Sanatan Dharma. And in case you have not already subscribed to my channel, then I suggest you do so that you may be updated about forthcoming videos uploaded to this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great time ahead. Hari Om.